Good morning. Very happy to be here. Glad the weather worked out. My name is Anne Marie, and I am a recovering alcoholic. Just to give you a little background, I grew up in Brooklyn in a very abusive household. I was told what to think, what to say, how to act, how to feel, forbidden to cry. Was not allowed to spend a lot of time playing with other children. Not a way to grow up. Eventually it got worse. Eventually I literally had to walk out, or I knew I would disappear, because they put me in charge of everything: cooking, cleaning, laundry, raising my sister, gardening, you name it. So I didn't really have much of a life. So I walked out, and then not long after that I actually got married to someone who I thought was absolutely fantastic, and then it was I guess you want to call it bait and switch. Eventually he also became abusive. So towards the end of my marriage, I look back, and through my lifetime, I have experienced every type of abuse you could possibly imagine, and then some. Some of it was continuous, some of it was sporadic, but either way, that was my life. Eventually, since I swallowed everything, because I wasn't allowed to show any negative emotion, eventually I crashed and burned. My brain could no longer hold everything that I was holding in. And that's when it was towards the end of my marriage that I started drinking. Before that, I really never drank at all. And it would be occasional, and then more than occasional, and then, you know, in the evening, and then it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Towards the end, I became an alcoholic. If I wasn't sleeping, I was drinking. My PTSD, anxiety, and depression were off the roof. I couldn't function, couldn't work. I didn't even want to talk. I couldn't put two sentences together. I ended up where I tried to end my life. So that brought me to the hospital. They don't know how I lived. Not only did they have to stitch me up, but my blood pressure they could not get under control actually for some time. It was 150 over 214, and nothing could get it lower. They don't know how I didn't have a stroke. After that, they said, well, from the hospital, they said, we're going to send you to detox. And my first thought was, one, that means I never get to drink again, and two was, what have I got to lose? You know, I had nothing to lose. So after I left there, it was recommended that I go to rehab, and a family friend had been to Turning Point, and he called me up and told me about it, encouraged me to go, so I started at Turning Point. Big shock for me, because I isolated for like 4 or 5 years, didn't talk to anyone, see anyone. Next thing you know, I'm in a ward with 30 women and 2 roommates. But I started to learn a lot there, and I have to say, my personal counselor, Vincent, was amazing. He just got me. He knew how to read people, and that helped me so much. And there was another counselor there, Erin. She led a lot of the groups there. I learned so much from this woman, and I probably could have learned more, because they did hand out a lot of literature. However, about a month into Turning Point, I ended up developing delayed withdrawal syndrome, and I couldn't see. I lost my vision. Everything was a complete blur, and when it started to come back, it was blurred and double vision. I didn't fully get my vision back until about August, and this happened in February. But then while I was at Turning Point, my counselor, Vincent, recommended that I was doing well and that I could use more work, and I actually agreed. And I thought again, once again, my thing was, what have I got to lose? So I went to Anderson House, and I got there on May 26th. And I remember that day, because I remember walking in, I saw the garden, and there was a lot of weeds, and I went, oh, hell no, this is not going to stay. But I was a little overwhelmed at first. I will tell you, Anderson House is a tough program. But for anyone who wants to recover, it is the place to be. That I can tell you. Being back at Anderson House, my very first day, they took me to my very first AA meeting. And it was the best thing ever, because I remember just sitting there and listening. I did a lot of listening. I'm not big in the talking department. And all I kept thinking was, oh my God, it's not just me. It really isn't just me. And that alone made me realize that I could start to open up and talk to these people, and talking and sharing is one of the best things you can do in your recovery. Which tells me the same thing with Anderson House. They encourage the women to develop a network of other women in the area. And at first I had a hard time with that because I wasn't used to the social thing. Today, because of my network, I have my own apartment, I have friends, I go to several meetings a week, but we also see each other socially. I'm out in the community, which I never thought I would do. Also, thanks to Anderson House, I got to rediscover my love of gardening, thanks to Helen. And we grow our own vegetables, and I swear one year we had a zucchini, it was this long, it was unbelievable, it was like a baseball bat. But then I also learned that how important the network was. I learned to reconnect with my love of cooking, because we cook for ourselves there, and we take turns. And even though I knew how to cook because I was forced to do it since I was like yo-hi, one of the benefits was I got to teach other women who really didn't know how to cook. So we all kind of work together. We do chores together, we cook together, we go to meetings together. Sometimes we wish we weren't together, but for the most part, it was great. I found my sponsor through them. They took me to a meeting, I met my sponsor. She's been my sponsor ever since. Her name is Janet, and my sponsor has a sponsor, so I have a lot of support. My counselor was awesome. She was tough but fair, and that was exactly what I needed. She made me see things about myself that I didn't realize. And I'll tell you something, between my counselor and between working the steps of the AA program, for the first time in my life, I know who I am. I spent most of my life being who I was expected to be or how I was supposed to be, that I lost myself. And by doing the steps and working on the good and the bad, learning about my assets, learning about my liabilities, I welcomed them because it gave me insight into who I was for the first time in my life. Also, thanks to Anderson House, I have a job that I love. We had to be employed, very important. The job I have now, I absolutely love. I've only been there not even a year and a half, and I'm already managing a restaurant cafe. I love the people I work with, I love the customers. I actually look forward to going to work every day. One thing I will tell you also is that for the first time in my life, I have never been this relaxed and calm in my whole life, by the way. I was always stressed out all the time. And I actually wake up happy, I sleep well. I enjoy my life for the first time ever. I don't think I've ever felt this happy ever. And I just can't wait to see what else comes. You know, like I said, I should have died that day in the hospital and I didn't, and I believe that God has a plan for me. Don't know what it is yet, but I'm looking forward to finding out. Also that I don't know what the future holds. It's funny, my therapist tells me, you know, where do you think you're going to be in 6 months? And I just say, you can't ask me that. I'm in a day-at-a-time program. So, but anyway, Anderson House made such a huge difference in my life. It really did. And it's a tough program. And there were times I didn't understand why the rules were what they were. But let me tell you something. Once I moved to the three-quarter house, all of a sudden everything started to sink in. Everything made sense. And when I was asked to do this today, I didn't even hesitate because I wanted to be able to give back. Because let me tell you, my hope is that there's another woman out there that will go to Anderson House and they'll go to their first meeting and they're going to say, it's not just me, and that's the first step. And then I'm also hoping that another woman like me it may start out saying I have nothing to lose, but hope she takes my attitude that I have now, which is, what else am I going to gain? So that's my story. Thank you.